I became a self-made billionaire after my family disowned me. Now my sister, ex-fiancé, and step-parents are furious I'm funding their competitors and bought out every business they applied to. Hi everyone. Before we go on, show your love by subscribing and saying hi in the comments. Share your location too. We love hearing from you. Let's get back to the story. I'll never forget the taste of champagne mixed with humiliation. Standing in my childhood home, my stepfather Richard's mansion, watching my younger sister Alina's engagement party, I realized I'd become invisible. 28 years old, wearing a dress I'd saved 3 months to buy, clutching a gift nobody would open. Can someone get this trash off the table? Richard's voice boomed across the marble foyer. He wasn't talking about actual trash. His manicured finger pointed at my carefully wrapped present. My mother Patricia touched his arm, whispering something. She wouldn't look at me. Hadn't really looked at me since marrying Richard 12 years ago. Mama. My voice cracked. She flinched like I'd cursed. Don't call me that here, she hissed. You're embarrassing Alina. This is her day. Ryan, my fiancé of 2 years, stood beside Alina. My Alina. My baby sister who I'd tutored through high school, who'd slept in my bed during thunderstorms, who'd promised we'd always be sisters first. His hand rested on her waist. Familiar. How long? I whispered. Alina's smile could have cut glass. Does it matter? He chose better. Mama and Daddy already approved our marriage. Unlike yours. The room spun. Richard's booming laugh echoed. Face it, girl. You were never part of this family. Your real daddy didn't want you and neither do we. Alina's got breeding, class, ambition. You're just Patricia's mistake. Something inside me crystallized. Hardened. Transformed. I'll remember this, I said quietly. Richard sneered. You do that, sweetheart. Remember it from whatever roach-infested apartment you end up in. My grandmother's voice echoed as I drove away that night. Baby, they can take everything but your mind. Grandma Rose died when I was 15. Raised me alone until Patricia got her claws into Richard's money and decided poverty looked bad on her resume. Rose left me one thing Richard's lawyers couldn't touch, a safety deposit box key and a letter. Open this when you've lost everything else, she'd written. You come from survivors, baby girl. Act like it. The bank manager looked skeptical when I presented credentials the next morning. My hands shook. Inside the box, $43,000 in bonds, stock certificates for a defunct tech company, and photographs of a man I'd never met. My grandfather. Dr. James Morrison. Not just any doctor. A surgeon who'd pioneered cardiac techniques in the 60s. He died before I was born, but his legacy spoke through those papers. Your grandmother protected these because she knew, the banker Mrs. Smith said softly. Knew what? That brilliance skips generations sometimes. Your grandfather revolutionized medicine. Your grandmother built 3 businesses from nothing. That money? She wanted you to build something they couldn't destroy. The tech stocks, worthless in 2008, had split, merged, and evolved. They were now worth $732,000. I sat in my car for an hour, crying. Not from joy. From rage. Grandma Rose knew. She'd always known Patricia would choose wealth over her own daughter. That night I opened my laptop in a motel room. Ryan called 16 times. Patricia twice. Alina once. A text saying I was pathetic for abandoning family. I blocked them all and began researching. The investment firm looked like every intimidating building I'd avoided my whole life. Glass, steel, and people who smelled like old money. I wore my best interview suit, 5 years old, slightly frayed, and walked in carrying Grandma Rose's documents. I have $732,000, I told the receptionist. I need someone who won't steal it. She called security. Not for the reason you'd think. Ma'am, you can't just walk in demanding to see wealth managers. Why not? I have wealth. I need it managed. A man emerged from the elevator. Mid-50s, black, wearing a suit that cost more than my car. Reginald Thompson. He extended his hand. I heard $732,000 and got curious. Most people round up. Most people haven't counted every dollar 43 times. His laugh was genuine. Conference room 3. Let's talk. Reginald didn't patronize. He asked questions. What did I know? What did I want? What was I willing to risk? Everything, I answered honestly. I've already lost everything that mattered. Wrong answer, he said firmly. You've lost people who didn't value you. What you have now. That's a foundation. Let me ask differently. What do you want to build? I thought of Richard's sneer. Alina's betrayal. Ryan's silence. Something they can't touch. Can't buy. Can't destroy. How that, Reginald smiled, that I can work with. Over the next 6 months, Reginald became my mentor. He taught me markets, investments, calculated risks. He introduced me to his network. Other people who'd built empires from nothing. You've got something special, he said during one late-night strategy session. You understand pain. That's your advantage. You know exactly what people will do when desperate. I lived like a monk. My motel room cost $38 nightly. I ate ramen, canned beans, whatever was discounted. Every spare dollar went into 3 ventures Reginald identified. Emerging biotech, sustainable housing materials, and a little artificial intelligence startup nobody was watching. You're starving yourself, Reginald observed, sliding a sandwich across his desk. I'm investing in myself, I corrected. There's a difference. Meanwhile, I'd created fake social media profiles. Not to stalk, to study. Alina posted constantly. Designer bags, expensive restaurants, wedding planning. All funded by Richard's real estate empire. Ryan had joined Richard's company. Assistant Vice President of Acquisitions, his LinkedIn proclaimed. Translation: Richard's errand boy. Patricia posted Bible verses about family and forgiveness. The irony could have choked me. Richard's business fascinated me most. He'd built his fortune on mid-level commercial properties. Strip malls, small office buildings, residential developments. Profitable but unremarkable. He succeeded through intimidation and connections, not innovation. He's vulnerable, I told Reginald, showing him property records. Look at his debt ratios. He's leveraged everything for Alina's wedding and Ryan's salary. One bad quarter and he's exposed. Reginald studied the numbers. You're thinking revenge. I'm thinking business. Business doesn't usually involve your sister's wedding venue. I'd found it in Alina's posts. The Rosewood estate. Richard had bought it specifically for her perfect day. Cost him $3.2 million, mortgaged to 90%. The venue's bleeding money, I explained. Bad management, worse reputation. He bought it thinking he'd flip it after the wedding. But who's going to buy a money pit? Someone who wants to hurt him. Reginald's expression was unreadable. No, I met his eyes. Someone who wants to teach him that trash recognizes treasure. 14 months after that engagement party, my investments exploded. The AI startup got acquired by a major tech company. My biotech stocks tripled when they announced FDA approval. The housing materials company went public. My $732,000 became $4.3 million. I cried in Reginald's office. What do I do now? Whatever you want. That's the point of money, freedom. I knew exactly what I wanted. First, I hired an image consultant. You need to look like money, she said bluntly. New wardrobe, new hair, new everything. Not to impress anyone, to armor myself. Next, I enrolled in executive MBA courses. Not for the degree, for the network. I met Elena Rodriguez at a real estate investment seminar. She was 53, owned 6 commercial properties and spotted ambition like a bloodhound. You've got the look of someone planning something stupid, she said, sitting beside me uninvited. Possibly, I admitted. Depends on your definition of stupid. Revenge on family? Business opportunity involving family. Honey, I've been where you are. Let me guess. They think you're nothing and you want to prove otherwise. I nodded. Elena's laugh was harsh. Don't prove anything. Just win. Proof is for people who care about their opinion. He became my second mentor. Where Reginald taught me finance, Elena taught me ruthlessness. Rich people stay rich by protecting each other, she explained. But they'll eat their own if there's profit. Remember that. By month 18, my portfolio hit 8.7 million. I bought my first property, a small office building Richard had tried to purchase 2 years earlier. He'd lost the bid to a developer who went bankrupt. I bought it from the bank for 70 cents on the dollar. Richard never knew who outbid him this time. Year 2, $31 million. The AI company's acquisition triggered stock options I didn't know I had. Reginald had negotiated terms I hadn't understood. Always read the fine print, he'd said. Now I understood why. My sustainable housing company became the darling of eco-conscious developers. Suddenly, everyone needed our materials. I established Morrison Holdings, named for Grandma Rose's maiden name and my grandfather. It felt right, building my empire on their foundation instead of Patricia's cowardice. I hired a team. First, Jennifer Pierce, a corporate attorney who'd been fired for refusing to falsify documents. "I don't work for people who want me to cheat," she said during our interview. "Good. I want you to win legally. Is that possible?" Her smile was predatory. "Absolutely." Then Ryan Cole. No relation to my ex, but the name felt like fate. He was a financial analyst who'd exposed fraud at his previous company and got blacklisted for it. "Why hire someone everyone calls a troublemaker?" he asked. "Because everyone calling you that is a thief. I need someone who sees through bullshit." My team was small but lethal. People who'd been betrayed, overlooked, or punished for having integrity. We understood hunger. I started tracking Richard's empire systematically. Every property, every deal, every vulnerability. "This is obsessive," Jennifer warned. "This is thorough," I corrected. "There's a difference between revenge and justice." "Is there?" "Revenge is emotional. Justice is mathematical. I'm simply ensuring consequences find the right address." Richard's company, Davidson Development, was expanding aggressively. He'd leveraged his properties to buy more, classic overextension. Alina had quit her job. Why work when daddy's paying for everything? Ryan's social media showed expensive watches, luxury cars. All financed by Richard's increasingly precarious house of cards. And I was about to be the wind. Year 3. My net worth, $78 million. I'd diversified into tech investments, commercial real estate, and a hedge fund that Reginald helped me structure. Nobody knew Morrison Holdings was mine. I operated through LLCs, trusts, and corporate veils. Jennifer called it aggressive privacy. I called it strategy. I started small. Richard had 3 anchor tenants threatening to leave his main property. They needed upgrades he couldn't afford. I approached them quietly. "What if someone bought the building and gave you what you needed?" Within 6 months, I owned 4 of Richard's most profitable properties. He never knew who bought them. The deals went through shell companies Elena helped me structure. His cash flow began strangling. I watched from the shadows as he scrambled, refinanced, borrowed against properties I was systematically acquiring around him. "You're building a cage," Ryan Cole observed, studying our acquisition map. "I'm creating market conditions," I replied. "Not my fault he's bad at business." Next, I targeted Alina's wedding venue. The Rosewood estate was hemorrhaging money as I'd predicted. Richard had fired 3 managers trying to stop the bleeding. I sent Elena to the bank holding the mortgage. "The property's underwater," she told them. "Accept my client's offer or foreclose. Your choice." They sold for $1.8 million. Richard had paid $3.2 million 18 months earlier. When he found out, Alina called Patricia crying. I know because my private investigator, Thomas Smith, Mrs. Smith's nephew, was very good at his job. "Your daughter purchased the venue," Thomas reported. "Your stepfather doesn't know it's you yet. Different corporate name." How did Alina sound? Hysterical. "They need to relocate the wedding with 4 months' notice. Your mother blamed your stepfather for bad business." I felt nothing. That scared me more than feeling joy. Comment, karma. If you think she's doing the right thing. Let's continue. Richard discovered Morrison Holdings existed during a business dinner. A developer mentioned that mysterious company buying everything in the commercial corridor. I wasn't there, but Thomas recorded the conversation. Someone had planted listening devices. Hypothetically, allegedly, I knew nothing about it. Who are they? Richard demanded. Nobody knows. Very private. But they're smart. Buying distressed properties and turning them profitable. Profitable? I had those properties. Had being the operative word, Rich. Laughter around the table. Richard's face, according to Thomas, turned purple. He started investigating. Hired his own private investigator. But Jennifer had structured everything perfectly. Morrison Holdings was owned by a trust, managed by a corporate entity, registered in 3 different states. Richard found nothing but paperwork labyrinths. Meanwhile, I was just getting started. Ryan, the ex-fiancé, had made a critical mistake. He'd been managing Richard's contractor relationships. Skimming money wasn't smart, but Ryan had never been smart. He'd been pretty inconvenient. Thomas discovered the fraud during routine background checks. Your ex-fiancé is stealing from your stepfather, he reported. How much? Approximately $200,000 over 18 months. Document everything. Anonymously send it to Richard's accountant. That's cold. That's consequences. 3 weeks later, Ryan got fired. Alina's social media exploded with vague posts about betrayal and trust. The irony was delicious. They postponed the wedding. Ryan couldn't afford his share without Richard's salary. Richard wouldn't pay after discovering the theft. My mother called me for the first time in 3 years. Hello. My voice was steady. It's your mother. Patricia. What do you want? Silence. Then, that's disrespectful. So is calling your daughter trash at her sister's engagement party. What do you want? Alina needs help. The wedding. I hung up. She called back 16 times. I blocked the number. Year 4. Net worth. $143 million. A strategic investment in renewable energy paid off spectacularly. I was officially a centimillionaire. Nobody in my old life knew. I'd become a ghost, present but invisible. Richard's business was collapsing publicly now. 3 properties foreclosed. Davidson Development's credit rating dropped. Banks stopped returning his calls. I attended a charity gala Elena insisted I needed for networking. Black tie, society page, exactly the kind of event Patricia would have killed to attend when I was younger. You need to be seen, Elena insisted. Build your reputation in rooms that matter. I wore a custom gown, midnight blue, elegant, expensive. My hair was styled by someone with one name. I looked like money because I was money. And then I saw them. Patricia, Richard, Alina. All 3 across the ballroom. Guests of the developer who'd mentioned Morrison Holdings to Richard. They hadn't seen me yet. My heart pounded. 4 years of silence, of building, of becoming someone they couldn't recognize. That's them, isn't it? Elena murmured beside me. Yes. Want to leave? No. I want them to see what they threw away. I walked toward the hors d'oeuvres table. Deliberate, confident. Patricia saw me first. Her champagne glass actually slipped from her hand. Oh my, is that? Richard turned. His face went through confusion, recognition, then something ugly. Rage. What the hell are you doing here? His voice carried. People turned. Attending a charity gala, I replied calmly. Same as you. You can't afford to be here. Alina's voice was shrill. She'd gained weight, lost that polished edge. Stress, probably. Wedding planning during financial collapse will do that. Can't I? I smiled. I'm doing quite well, actually. Doing what? Richard sneered. Still cleaning houses. Building them, actually. Among other things. The developer, Kenneth Morrison, no relation but the coincidence was beautiful, appeared at my elbow. There you are. I've been wanting to introduce you to some people. He was in his 60s, respected, connected. Reginald had arranged the introduction months ago. Kenneth, I smiled warmly. Kenneth, you know the Davidsons? Richard extended his hand automatically. Status games he couldn't refuse without looking weak. Of course. Rich, how's business? The question was innocent. Richard's face twitched. Transitioning. Market's tough. Indeed. Which is why smart investors are thriving. Speaking of which, let me introduce you properly to Morrison Holdings CEO. Kenneth gestured to me. The silence was spectacular. I'm sorry, what? Patricia's voice was faint. Morrison Holdings. One of the sharpest investment companies I've encountered. Brilliant acquisitions, particularly in commercial real estate. You must know them, Rich. Didn't they buy several of your properties? Richard's face was cement. Morrison Holdings is mine, I said softly. I own Morrison Holdings. The company that bought your properties, your cash flows, your future. That was me. Alina made a sound like a wounded animal. That's impossible. You're nobody. You're a self-made multimillionaire, Kenneth interrupted, confused by the hostility. One of the most impressive entrepreneurs I've met. Started from nothing and built an empire. It's quite inspiring, really. Nothing. I looked at Patricia. No, not nothing. I started with what Grandma Rose left me. Remember her? The woman you abandoned in that nursing home? Who died alone because visiting her was too depressing? Patricia went white. She left you money? Richard's voice was dangerous. She left me better than money. She left me dignity, intelligence, and the knowledge that I came from people who built things instead of stealing them. The crowd around us had grown. People were listening, phones out. This was about to go viral. You vindictive little, Richard started. Careful, my voice was ice. We're in public. And unlike you, I can afford very good lawyers. Ask Ryan about that. Alina found her voice. You did this on purpose. The properties, the venue, Ryan getting fired. That was you. Ryan getting fired was Ryan being a thief, I corrected. I simply ensured the right person discovered his theft. The properties. Good business. The venue. You're welcome, by the way. I've renovated it completely. It's actually profitable now. You destroyed our family. No, Mama. I used the word deliberately. You did that when you chose his money over your own daughter. I just stopped letting you pretend there were no consequences. Patricia's tears were theatrical. I'm your mother. You were my mother. Then you became his wife. You made your choice. Richard stepped closer, aggressive. Security materialized. Kenneth's people. Sir, step back, please. Do you know who I am? A man who needs to step back, the security guard repeated calmly. Kenneth looked confused. Is there history here I'm missing? My stepfather, I explained clearly. His daughter Alina. My mother Patricia. They're the family who disowned me 4 years ago because I wasn't good enough, rich enough, or important enough to acknowledge. Understanding dawned on Kenneth's face. Then something else. Respect. The engagement party story, he said slowly. In your investor profile you mentioned a catalyzing event. That was them. They called me trash. Told me to leave. Chose wealth over family. So I built wealth they couldn't touch. The ballroom was silent. That's not, we didn't, Patricia stammered. You called me an embarrassment, I said clearly. You told me not to call you Mama because it made Alina's day about me. Richard said my real daddy didn't want me and neither did he. Ryan left me for my sister. Do I have any details wrong? No one answered. I kept every text, I continued. Every voicemail. Every social media post laughing about the trash being taken out. Jennifer, my attorney, has them documented. Would you like me to share them? You wouldn't, Alina whispered. Try me. Richard's last play came 2 weeks later. He sued me. Claimed I'd interfered with his business relationships, engaged in predatory acquisition practices, and damaged his reputation. Jennifer laughed when she read the filing. He's desperate. This lawsuit is frivolous. Can he hurt me? Legally? No. Financially? He can't afford to sustain litigation against us. He'll go bankrupt paying lawyers. Then why file? Pride. He needs to hurt you somehow, and this is all he has left. The lawsuit revealed Morrison Holdings' ownership publicly. Media picked up the story. Self-made millionaire built empire after family betrayal. The narrative was compelling. Underdog overcomes rejection, Succeeds despite cruelty. Patricia called from a different number. I answered this time. What? Please. Richard's lost everything. We might lose the house. Alina's wedding is cancelled. Can't you have mercy? Mercy. Like the mercy you showed when I begged you to believe I hadn't done anything wrong? When I cried because my fiancé was sleeping with my sister? That was different. How? Explain how it was different. Silence. I'm your mother. Family forgives. Family protects. Family loves. Family doesn't call their daughter trash because she doesn't fit the aesthetic. You were never my family, Patricia. You were just the woman who gave birth to me and spent every day after regretting it. I never, don't lie. Not now. I heard you tell Richard the first was a mistake. That you wished you'd never had me. I was 16, Patricia. 16 years old, listening to my mother wish I didn't exist. Her sob was real this time. I was angry. I didn't mean, you meant it. And I've spent every day since proving you wrong. Not for you. For me. For Grandma Rose. For the little girl who believed her mother would choose her. Please. I'm begging. Do you know what I would have given for you to fight for me? Just once. To choose me over money, over Richard, over your pride. I'll do anything, then go back in time and be my mother. Comment, heartbroken, if this emotional truth hit you. Share this if you've ever felt abandoned by family. Let's continue. The lawsuit collapsed within 3 months. Richard couldn't pay his attorneys. Alina's wedding never happened. Ryan disappeared after the theft allegations became public. Patricia filed for divorce, but there was nothing left to divide. I bought Richard's house at auction. Not to live in. I'd never set foot in that mausoleum again. I donated it to a women's shelter. For women escaping families who never deserved them, I specified in the deed. Morrison Holdings continued growing. I'd broken into the billionaire threshold at 32, 1.2 billion after major tech investment paid off exponentially. Forbes called for an interview. I declined. Money was never the point. The point was proving I existed. That I mattered. That their rejection hadn't been my failure. It had been theirs. But success felt hollow. I'd won every battle and lost something I couldn't name. Elena noticed during a business dinner. You look miserable for a billionaire. I thought winning would feel different. Revenge never does. It's like drinking poison and expecting them to die. Reginald retired and I threw him a party. You did it, he said proudly. Everything you said you'd build. Then why does it feel empty? Because you built it to prove something to people whose opinion never should have mattered. The question now is, what do you build for yourself? I established the Rose Morrison Foundation. Full scholarships for young women from broken families. Business mentorship. Housing assistance. Things I'd needed when I was drowning. Patricia tried to contact me through the foundation. Tell her we're at capacity, I instructed staff. Some wounds don't heal. They just scar differently. I never saw them again. But I saw myself everywhere. In scholarship recipients' eyes when they learned they'd been chosen. In young entrepreneurs' determination. In the buildings bearing Grandma Rose's name. The empire I built wasn't about revenge. It was about remembering that survival is its own inheritance. I was enough. I always had been. They just couldn't see value that wasn't measured in their currency. And that, their blindness, their cruelty, their small frightened souls, that was never my burden to carry. I built my empire on their ashes. But I built my peace on Grandma Rose's love. Some mornings I still hear Richard calling me trash. But now I hear Grandma Rose louder. Baby girl, they can take everything but your mind. They took everything else. But they never touched my mind. And in the end, that's the only thing that mattered. This is the end of my story. If this moved you, please like, subscribe, and share. Tell me in the comments, what's your biggest takeaway? Have you ever had to walk away from toxic family? Remember, you are enough exactly as you are. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Moral lesson. True wealth isn't measured in dollars but in dignity. Family isn't defined by blood but by loyalty. Success achieved through revenge may satisfy the ego, but peace comes only from self-acceptance and understanding that others' inability to see your value never defined your worth. The greatest victory isn't proving them wrong. It's building a life so authentic that their opinion becomes irrelevant. And sometimes, the saddest truth is that you can have everything you wanted and still grieve for the family you deserved but never had.